This is one of the parts of the season that I did miss.
Yeah.
This is one of the electric factories that I haven't been able to visit for some time because it hasn't been a relevant conversation because the NFL season has not been at full swing.
That's right.
Shame.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man is the authority on ranking teams in the NFL. He is the NFL's representative of where teams are ranked week to week of an NFL season. Wow. It gets talked about a lot, gets speculated a lot. Fans get pissed. Some decisions are made that we can't see, but only this man can because he actually wields a thunderbolt. That thunderbolt is the power of understanding who's going to go and who's a no. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of the NFL Power Rankings, Dan Zeus.
Yeah! Dan Zeus!
Let's go ahead and showcase your top 10 here before the season has even started. At number 1, you have the Bills. That's the odds-on favorite in every single sports book. Are you worried about them going to your number 2 team, LA? They're 2.5-point favorites on the road. Love Josh Allen. Love the Bills. What are you ranking them 1 for just because everybody else is, or what do you see in that team that makes them get the win tomorrow night?
It just feels like this is it for the Bills. I do think they're the most balanced team. I love the Von Miller move. The Tre'Davious White being absent is something that's on my radar for this Thursday, and they have 2 rookies in that secondary that you imagine Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are itching to take advantage of. So at the same time, do I think that Josh Allen, remember what last time we saw Josh Allen? That man was possessed. He is absolutely a top tier, top 3 player in this league. And I think we could have a fun shootout potentially in this game. But yeah, I think it's a tough one, especially when you know that McVay in his career on in openers is 5-0 and they outscore their opponent like 32-16 on average. So the Rams are going to be ready. And the Bills, after getting gassed up throughout the summer, they can't lay an egg here. They would make the power rankings look bad. They'd make the people in Western New York sad. Let's hope the Bills show up. I think they will.
We can't have that. Nope. Sal Capaccio is sad.
Hey, Dan Zeus, I'm looking at number 3 there, the Niners. Do you have a lot of faith in Trey Lance to put them there? We know the team around him should be really good, but we're just not sure what they have yet in the young quarterback.
This was, I think, a lot of drawback here on Niners at 3.
Yeah, that I would say initially the most pushback I got is
drawback.
Niners at 3 and whatever. Like, I love the Niners. I love that defense was top 10 DVOA according to Football Outsiders last year without creating a lot of turnovers. So that side of the ball I believe in. Offensive side of the ball, yeah, Lance is a little bit of a projection. Of course he is. But at the same time, when the Jimmy Garoppolo news came out, that was not great news for Trey Lance. You understand, like, everything you read and hear is that locker room loves Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a winner and he's a good dude and all that. But while Trey Lance might feel a little extra pressure, if he's the real deal, he's going to ball out and it won't matter who's behind him. But the good news for the Niners that makes me even more confident of them as a top 3 team, even if Lance does struggle, now you have that security blanket and Garoppolo, a guy that's taken you to the Super Bowl before. But in general, I don't have him at number 3 if I don't think that Kyle Shanahan thinks that Trey Lance could be special. And just think about it. If Lance does hit the ground running and he's a baller, this team is better than anybody in the league potentially.
I don't want to go backwards here, but Rams beat the Bills. Is it immediate flip-flop at the top, or is that not how Dan Zeus does his rankings?
Yeah, that would probably necessitate a flip-flop unless something strange happens. Yeah.
Okay, your question, Darius, for Dan Zeus.
I'm still shocked at this Niners at 3. But I'm going to go down to 9. Chargers right under the Broncos. A lot of moving parts with the Broncos. Obviously, Russ coming in. A lot of people coming back in that Chargers fold, and they obviously reloaded on defense. Why 9 under the Broncos there?
And Niners.
Yeah. AFC West, obviously, I think I have them packed together, and then the Raiders right outside there, the top 10. Here's the thing about the Chargers. It's all there. And you try not to think and get yourself all boxed in with Chargers going to Charger. It always seems to happen, but you just love what they've done on both sides of the ball. And I think, like, we had our NFL.com article you put out the week before the season, make your predictions for awards. I have Herbert as my MVP, and I think you say that this is a guy that is as special as it gets in his first 2 years. And when you take an elite, truly superstar quarterback with a really good roster, I think this is a year the Chargers do make that move, and I think they could even beat out the Chiefs for the division. But I've shown respect right now for the Chiefs, keeping them ahead of the mix in that division. But the Chargers, obviously, a ton of upside there.
Dan Zeus. So you got the Niners at 3 because you think Shanahan will figure it out. You got Herbert as your MVP and the Chargers at 9 with a whole team loaded around him. I mean, every sentence that comes out of your mouth makes me wonder what the fuck's going on over there during power. Yeah, honestly, is this just? Do you battle for this? Like, you got the Buccaneers at 4, the Bengals at 5, Packers, Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Ravens round out the top 10 there. Is it a constant battle on where you're putting everybody, everything?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a struggle. That top 10 that you're looking at there, to me, any of those teams make sense as a Super Bowl team. And when you ask me about these teams, like, I can talk about them in a way where I could see them as being a number 1 team potentially, because they have that type of upside. So yeah, even if I have these teams lower in the top 10, I love them all, but they got to go in a certain order. And a team like the Rams that's battle tested and has a lot of that roster coming back, they're going to get a little more love than the Chargers, who I have to view with a little bit of suspicion, or the Ravens, who I really like their roster and the idea of Lamar Jackson being back healthy in a bounce back year with John Harbaugh. But also I'm not going to put them up at number 3, because we got to see them show that they're back in the early part of the season.
Well, and who knows about that contract?
Yeah. Sure.
Connor, your question for Dan Zeus.
Yeah, Dan Zeus, I damn near tore apart my apartment when I saw you had the Patriots at 18, just because I respect your ranking so much, and I basically am almost counting them out for the whole entire season. Is that because there's no OC and play caller, and can you possibly see the Patriots being maybe that Bengals team of this year's power rankings for you?
Yeah. So you were mad about 18?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Because it's weird, because I'm more into the Patriots than I feel most of the national media is. All you've read, and so the local media up there in New England as well, Tom Curran called the offense a vehicle with square wheels.
He's a turncoat.
As they install a new offense. Here's the thing. Yes, do I think there's a little bit of a ceiling right now and reason to be concerned as you put in a brand new offense and you have Joe Judge prominently involved and Matt Patricia? Sure, but I think a little too much has been made of that when you got the guy in the big chair, Belichick, here to figure it out. I think they could have, even in the best of times, as you know, Connor, as well as anyone, sometimes the Pats would come out of the gate a little slower as they figured things out. And then they would rip off the 7 straight wins November into December, and off they roll into the playoffs. I think that could be a possibility, because you just get the vibe that the offense is going to be a work in progress here initially. But I really like Mac Jones, and I thought he was the best rookie quarterback last year. They're going to be okay. I think they're fighting for a playoff spot. I think they are a wild card team potentially, which I haven't seen a lot of people picking them to get that far. I'm with you, kind of, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, they could be a team. They could figure it out. You say Shanahan's going to figure it out. I assume, much like you, I think Belichick's going to figure it out. I'm happy I don't have to rank everybody in the top 32. When you released this list, this was your tweet. I don't know if you write it or somebody else does.
Yeah.
It is an impossible and, frankly, unfair task to expect someone to put NFL teams in accurate ranking order before a game has even been played. And yet, I've done it. 32 for 32. Football is back, and so are the power rankings.
That sounds like Dan Zeus.
Hey, Dan Zeus, you know it, huh? You fucking know you're the guy. That's awesome.
That's
you look in the mirror, you say, hey, there's the guy. You know it, huh, Dan?
I've learned through doing this, I think this is my 4th season, they're 32 for 32 because I believe it. That's what I think it is. And if you disagree, you are welcome to mother F me down there in the comments and the tweets. I don't care. That doesn't matter. I feel confident about where things are, and I love doing the power rankings, and I love McAfee gang having me on. It's fun, but you have to have confidence, and you got to have thick skin, or it's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah, I'd assume you got to have skin like warm Dilla.
That's right.
Darius, what were you going to say? You're a motherfucker.
No, I mean, that 3 pick is still driving me crazy. I want to know who's at 30, Dan. Who's at 30 right now?
Who's at 30?
Might
Let's
sprinkle
see.
a little something on them for a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, because Bengals last year in your ranking was at 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the Commanders at 30 right now.
Oh, we're not going to bet on them.
Yikes. Yeah, they
Not going to bet on them.
The Commanders I don't see being magical, but the team in this bottom 10, 12, as I kind of alluded to earlier, is the Jaguars. I just think they have a lot of things that could click into place that they could be contending for a playoff spot potentially this season. I think the Bengals, what happened with them last year was just so much fun and great to watch. And my great friend who passed away last January on the Around the NFL podcast, my partner, Chris Wessling, was from the west side of Cincinnati. And that was such a great ride for us on the podcast to kind of remember Wes. But I also think that Cincinnati team's a once in a decade type situation. I don't know if we have that type of team playing in the Super Bowl, but the Jaguars fighting for a playoff spot, I'm into.
They got an indoor practice facility. They sold sponsorship to their stadium.
Yeah.
They are a business now. That ain't a once in a day. Dan Zeus, you're out of line right now. I will let you
Tell
know.
me.
I mean, Niners at 3, Cincinnati Bengals are dead. I mean, I guess we'll watch it all unfold, but we already know it's going to happen because Dan Zeus with his lightning sword. Go ahead, AJ.
Dan Zeus, where do you have the Raiders, and don't you think they may be a team that could fly up your charts once the season starts?
Yeah, Raiders fans, of course, they're fired up because I have them 4th amongst the division teams. I like the Raiders, but here's what I like about the Raiders. I love, obviously, Devontae Adams being there.
Dan, what are you?
Yeah,
Josh
what's that
McDaniels
whole-
calling plays.
What's that? What do I like? What's that? You don't like the Raiders?
on.
Dan Zeus has what it sounded like right there a little bit.
I like them all right. I mean, number 11 is kind of a lukewarm endorsement of them being a potential powerhouse. I'd say that's where I feel about them. I really like Darren Waller as a bounce back guy. And if you get that top tier Waller and Adams is the Packers Adams, Derek Carr is going to eat and throw 35 to 38 touchdowns, and that offense is going to score points. Yeah, we'll see. Can they get enough stops on D? I don't know.
You got the Colts at 12. I remember last year you said, 13 was the spot where you don't know? Like, isn't that where you put
Twilight Zone, yeah.
Yeah, 13 is the spot where you don't know where you put people. You got the Colts at 12. You think it's big bounce back here in Dan Zeus's brain, huh? For the
I
Colts?
like it. And Pat, like Shaquille Leonard, that he's such a big part of this. He needs to come back from that back injury, that surgery, and be healthy and anchor that defense. And if that happens, then you start looking at the other side of the ball. Pittman could become a true like Pro Bowl, all-pro type talent. I think he's got number 1 wide receiver potential. And Matt Ryan, I know this has been the summer of windmill and 360s and tomahawk dunks on Carson Wentz because everybody kind of seems to dislike the guy as a player at least.
Whoa, who's doing that?
It's out there. You know that, Pat. It's out there.
The guy in Washington.
Streets talking. Carson Wentz is not a popular guy, so I think some of the Matt Ryan, the pumping up of Matt Ryan has been maybe a little overdone. I don't think we're getting the 2016 version of him, but I think he'll be absolutely a better version of the quarterback play they had last year. And I do see the Colts as the division winner. I like them in the South.
This show doesn't like the windmill dunk on Carson. We like to have a fair, accurate thing, but you just
Good.
said, well, Matt Ryan's going to be much better than whatever
50X.
happened last year. I mean, Dan, it's hard for you just not to bury everybody because you're old Zeus. You're the fucking guy. Is that the
Yeah.
thing? Chargers are going to charger. That's what you said earlier.
True.
Then he buried old Carson Wentz here. Dan Zeus, how'd you get into this game? Have you just been an NFL lifer here? Been a fan watching it? How'd you get into the judgment game?
Yeah, well, the judgment game, I've been at NFL.com now since 2010, and eventually the gig opened up, and I was like, oh, that looks fun. I want to try that. So that's how I got into the rankings game, and it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I think I talked about it last time on. I grew up in New York as a Jets fan, and maybe that's where if you're sensing too much pessimism, Pat, that might give you a lot of insight into why sometimes I look at the glass half full with certain teams. But I love football. I've loved it since I was a kid, and I'm just lucky to write and talk about it.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you, Dan Zeus. I mean, without you, how would we know who's the best and who's the worst? Ten Diggs, your question for Dan Zeus?
Yeah, Mr. Zeus. It's easy to talk about the good teams. Who's the worst? Give me the worst. Let's fucking talk about the worst team.
Jeez,
Yeah,
so negative this
that means 32, and that's the Bears for me right now.
What the hell?
And this is like sometimes it feels like piling on, and like I don't want to windmill dunk on the Bears because that city is a great city with great fans. And when's the last time there's been an exciting Chicago Bears team?
This year.
It's been all right,
Devin Hester.
maybe. I would love it. Cole Kmet, I like that. David Montgomery, Darnell Mooney. There's some pieces, but I just hope, this is my fear, is that this time next year, when Dan Zeus has to write the blurb for the Bears, I'm writing it's year 3, and we still haven't. It doesn't feel like we've given Justin Fields a true shot to show who he is yet. I hope that's not the case. I hope this is a year of progress. But the roster right now, it needs more work. This is a work in progress. I hope Fields falls out, but it's a big challenge for him.
It is a transition year for a young quarterback. 2 years in the NFL, 2 head coaches, play callers, offense coordinator systems.
Yeah.
That's a great way to start. A lot of great careers obviously start that way, but Justin Fields seems to be a guy who can handle it all. 32 out of 32 is not a good spot to be, especially for the 3rd largest city in the United States of America, but That's why they're going to Arlington to get this stink off them from
That's
Chicago.
right.
Ty,
Bingo.
your question for Dan Zeus?
Dan Zeus, sticking in the NFC North, so you have the Packers at 6 there. Are you not really worried about any of the inexperience at wide receiver? And obviously the Packers defense is maybe as good as it's been in the last 10 years or so. A lot of people were kind of picking the Packers to go to the Super Bowl, a couple weeks ago, and I feel like they've maybe eased up on that. And now the Vikings are kind of getting some of that steam. What do you see with the Packers moving forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of stunned by what happened in January and how the offense struggled so much in that loss to San Francisco. And then you see Devontae Adams leave town, but I still feel really good about him. Like you said, the roster, the defense is absolutely stacked. And then you look on the other side of the ball and it's the back-to-back MVP, Rodgers. So I think there's a bit of projection that he's going to figure it out. Now, they haven't always been able to develop wide receivers beyond Adams. So that's where you could say, all right, hold up here. I mean, you have Christian Watson in the building, Romeo Doubs. You almost need one of those guys to be a dude this year, you imagine Rodgers is going to struggle. But he's talking them up. I know he talked about it on your show. They believe in these kids and think they're going to make an impact. Alan Lazard needs to step up. Can Sammy Watkins stay healthy? Has Randall Cobb got anything left in the tank? I mean, they have a great running game, a great defense, a good offensive line, and an all-time quarterback. They're the NFC North champions. Come on now.
Hell yeah,
Dan Zeus, you're so good at what you do. That was a hell of a promo right there for the Green Bay Packers. Just as you had enough information to bury the Bears and the Chargers and the Raiders. We appreciate your big brain, and we appreciate the big responsibility that you've placed solely on your own shoulders to be the authority on ranking teams in the NFL. We appreciate you. Can't wait to talk to you again soon, pal.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
How was your off season? Pretty good?
Great. Yeah, good time with the family back on the Jersey Shore, and now we're in it. And we're all the way back in it, and I'm ready for football.
Dan Zeus, you're not a guy that just smokes copious amounts of marijuana? No? Not your style?
No, it's not my thing at all. I'm like one of those guys where that makes me paranoid. And just Tito's and soda. Let's do it.
What?
Hey, we need to have a Tito's and soda sometime, especially as we argue with that one team in the top 10 that you deliberately fuck with so everybody lose their mind. We don't know. We're not sure if that's the case or not. We appreciate you. Good luck with the new podcast, the Power Rankings podcast with Colleen Wolf. First episode debuted yesterday, wherever you find your podcast. We'll talk to you soon, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Zeus. That's a lot of fucking responsibility.
Yeah, it is.